ability.
Yes, there is a law that was passed, I think, in 1998. It was a change in the law, whereby it is now determined that where computer evidence is being used in a case, it is deemed to be a legal assumption that that computer system was working correctly.
So the computer rules, which is really what anyone outside the box would take away from this furore about the post office postmasters, reputable, respectable members of society. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, they work for the imperial empire. So the media's making a big fuss at them and, oh, shouldn't everyone feel sorry for them? But what if the computers mess up for us dissidents, us 1 in 10? The media won't help us. The normies, well, the computers will be working for them. So the normal Normans will look at us like we're mad, and it's our fault because we think outside the box, and we made the computers go wrong. So, looking at the dystopian future where handsets control everything and everything's digitalised, will the computer just go, "Computer says no, you are non-compliant, you do not have sufficient social credit"? Will they do it like that, like in China? "Oh, no, you're bad person. You speak against Communist Party, so you do not get green tick. You must stay in your prison." No, they're not going to do that here, are they? Because they're sneaky, slimy, lying scumbags with smoke and mirrors. So what they'll do is they'll make their computer surveillance system work for the normal Normans and just mess up completely for us. And we won't be able to know exactly what's going on. No one will be able to help us. You'll ring the call centre. They won't know that some code has been added to all the public and private partnership institutions' computer systems, a bit of code that checks if you're on the big tech blacklist. And if you are, I've got a black mark against your name, then your account is meddled with. Suddenly your electric bill's tripled. And the people at the call centre will think the system works. They won't have access to the coding, will they? And the courts will just say, "No, computer's correct. Computer is the oracle. Computer is the fountain of truth. Computer rules. Fuck you." So even if you don't play the smartphone computer games, with the computerisation that already exists in the institutions, they could really persecute us and fuck us over and make it pretend like everything's fine and normal and everything's working and, oh, isn't it strange it doesn't work for you? They could persecute us and there's fuck all we can do. And that's totally their modus operandi, isn't it? Instead of blatant, in-your-face, honest tyranny, they do sneaky tyranny where they pretend there's freedom and democracy and everything's fine and, oh, progress and oh, everything works. Yeah. They'd create a situation where the dissidents are in a Kafkaesque situation where no one can help them and no one knows what's going on. The normies think you're mad. The people working for the institutions and corporations that are fucking you over, they think their computer systems work. They don't know what's going on. And the law says, oh no, the computer's correct. That is the Kafkaesque shit they could create now. Let alone with more control and more tech and more digitalisation in the future. Yeah, in the past, they would want the administrators of the paperwork system, which was mental as it was, but they'd want the paperwork administrators to fuck over the dissidents. Except the paperwork administrators, they've got to crusadify those people and dogmatise them with nonsense to make them turn against the dissidents, and they've got to know who the dissidents are. Now, all they have to do is get their computer systems to have a blacklist, and the computer fiddles and persecutes and meddles with the accounts of the dissidents. It's not human doing it, they just get a computer to do it. Easy. And they've already got all these information sharing protocols between all the public-private partnership corporations and institutions, yeah, and they've passed that through law, and that's called trusted digital partnerships and all this trusted this and trusted that. Anything that they call trusted is the public-private partnership. It's the ruling class. Do not trust them. But they've already got a system in place. They've already got the information sharing. So all they need to do is just add a little bit of computer programming. They don't need AI or any, some mythical computer god bullshit. No. They just get someone to add a little bit of extra code to the programs, and they can persecute us and slyly transition to their digital dystopia, which will have the appearance of everything being progress and utopia to the normal Normans that are compliant, and then they just gradually make the compliance even more ridiculous. That's how they do it, isn't it? They want the Chinese social credit total control system, but they want their bullshit version of it, full of lies and smoke and mirrors and bullshit. So it'll be China, but it'll be China masquerading as freedom, democracy and Anglican rationalism. Yeah, and they'll get there, sometimes with big steps, like pretend plagues and pretend banking collapses and whatever else psyops they've got up their sleeve, and they'll also do it gradually to transition to their new utopia, gradually adding incremental fascism, especially by computer, IT fascism, IT control freakery, but especially for the dissidents, and masquerading as everything's fine and progress and normal for the Normans. Of course, they'll admit to the Normans the occasional teething troubles, and we need to fine-tune our new digital administrative system, and there's occasional errors. Yeah, they'll admit that when it applies to some of the Normans, and it's a respectable person, but they're not going to admit, oh no, it's not occasional errors, it's regular, deliberate errors for the dissidents on a widespread scale. They're not going to admit that. They're just going to pretend, oh, there's the occasional error and we fix it. So everything's fine and glorious and hunky-dory. Pretend. Posh China pretending not to be China, with all the posh pretentious gits, especially the media, pretending everything's glorious, and the posh middle class going along with the pretense. Occasionally virtue signalling about the small problems, like the post office computer fuck-up, and not the big problems like computer fascism. Posh China. Anglo-nationalist fascism masquerading as freedom. They could be starting this now. Sneaky, not blatant. That's their MO, isn't it? And if you don't believe me that they've already written it into law, they've already legislated and enabled computer rules, well, listen to this. This is the Empire admitting it through its mouthpiece, BBC Radio Empire 5 Live. If you didn't believe me before, after you've listened to this, you will then.
I think it was really interesting to hear Lord Arbuthnot there from the point of view of tech as well, Brian Glick from Computer Weekly, saying there used to be the presumption of reliability and we need to change that.
Yes, there is a law that was passed, I think, in 1998. It was a change in the law whereby it is now determined that where computer evidence is being used in a case, it is deemed to be a legal assumption that that computer system was working correctly. Now, interestingly, at the time that law was being debated and there was a consultation taking place on that change of the law, one of the organisations that lobbied hardest for that change to be made was the Post Office. Unless you can prove that there's a problem with the computer system, the law says the computer system was fine. Therefore, the burden of proof is on you, which clearly cannot be a fair way of prosecuting somebody if they're not being given access to all the information that they need to be able to show whether the computer was working or not.
Could it happen now?
Yes, it could happen now. I mean, there is no such thing as perfect as perfect software. Unless you want to spend enormous amounts of money, ridiculous amounts of money in it. There is always going to be flaws in software. So yes, it could happen now.